has been around boats all his life. His father was a famous sailing master, and as an aside, Bob lived on Brigadoon at Corinthian Yacht Club when he was in his teens. So kind of what goes around comes around. Bob has been involved with Freda since Arquez was first started in the 1990s. During the late 1990s, he put on a new house, deck, and stern with the help of our old friend John Burns. When Spalding received Freda, Bob became the project manager, drawing the lines. And if you didn't see that, the boat was sitting there. He had strings everywhere because the boat had sagged and it didn't have its original lines. So he got the original lines, drew them up on a board, up in the upper deck, and it took the lines off the boat and rebuilt the boat. He also secured the lumber, going up into Sonoma, cutting the trees and doing the planking, framing the boat, and then casting the lead keel to make sure Freda would be a quality restoration, which, as you can see, it is. It is with my great pleasure to introduce my old friend Bob Darr, Director of Arquez School and Project Manager of the Freda.
There are about 10 or 15 graduate apprentices here who worked on the Freda, and they stand here with me today.
Louder, Bob!
Thank you. Freda is very special for a number of reasons, but three of them stand out. Her design, utterly unique. Her longevity, 130 years. And her unusual construction. Freda, like many boats sailing on San Francisco Bay in the late 19th century, was an adaptation of East Coast racing sloops to the windier conditions on our bay. Freda can rightly be compared to the small yachts of New York, Long Island Sound, and New England from the same period, except that Freda is deeper and carries her beam further aft. One particular element of Freda's design that I would like to call your attention to is her lovely transom. Near Freda's stern, the topsides round in very suddenly to join a wide raked elliptical transom, as it's called. This shape was characteristic of the better yachts of the late 19th century. This and the other curves that we see in Freda's lovely hull shape create an abstract representation and evocation of the feminine form. Freda is the only surviving vessel I know of that preserves all of the elements of that particular 19th century aesthetic. Freda is almost 130 years old, making her the oldest sailing yacht on the West Coast and, frankly, across the United States. Freda was already 70 years old when Harold Summer purchased her in the mid-1950s and made major repairs to her hull. Without those repairs, Freda would not be with us today. Another hand for Harold Summer. What is amazing about her age is that Freda was not originally built with what are considered to be the most durable materials. We discovered that her original timbers and planking were mostly made of coastal fir. Her fastenings were galvanized iron. Many of the better yachts of Freda's period were built with cedar and exotic hardwoods and fastened with non-ferrous metal. But they did not survive. Freda's shapely frames were originally sawn from naturally curved trees and branches. Most vessels of that period were made with steam bent frames or wood sawn from straight-grained lumber. The Arques School locally cut curved trees and branches of black locust for Freda's new frames. Fir was used for the planking and the decking. All of Freda's new hull fastenings are of non-ferrous metal. We designed and poured a new lead keel weighing 7,500 pounds to replace the existing iron keel which had decayed. The Arques School had, in 1998, already rebuilt Freda's cabin and deck, complete with new beams and carlinks, when the vessel was under different ownership. The Arques School Spalding Center collaboration for restoring Freda's hull began in 2006 when the Arques School apprentices carefully picked up her lines and then lofted them full size on Myron Spalding's upstairs loft floor. After fairing these lines, a set of scale drawings were made from them to preserve Freda's shape for posterity. Meanwhile, Freda's planking was purchased with a grant from the Master Mariners Association and air-dried a couple of years to prepare them for proper construction. Months were spent cutting pepperwood for Freda's backbone and black locust for her frames. Patterns were made from the loft floor, and pieces of the new vessels were cut, shaped, and fastened together. As you can imagine, this all required a great deal of time and money. Over the last 8 years, the Spalding Center progressively raised the funds to pay for Freda's materials and cover the labor costs of the Arques School apprentices and master carpenters. Funds from the Donlin Arques endowment paid for picking up and preserving Freda's lines, as well as the years of managing and supervising the project. As you can see, Freda is a nautical jewel. She is the last of her type, completely restored for service as a sail training vessel of the Spalding Center. Today, we celebrate the culmination of many years of effort and collaboration by giving Freda back to the bay. We hope that Freda will delight her sailors and admirers for many decades to come. We hope that Freda's restoration will fire the interest and enthusiasm of future generations so that they may also preserve the traditions of wooden boat building and restoring historic vessels. Thank you very much.